I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, I know how you felt. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, cause I know how you felt. Fall in love with you again, wasn't right in the head back then. One more time before the end, I'll say goodbye to you even if I can. You wanna escape the feeling, even if you try. So listen and believe me, cause I have fucking tried. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, I know how you felt. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, cause I know how you felt. One step in the right direction, 2 steps back. Lucky all you want is perfection, won't happen. One step in the right direction, that's my bad. Lucky all you want is perfection, don't be mad. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, I know how you felt. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out, please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. Cause I know how you felt, cause I know how you felt. Journey's over, I can't believe I'm sober. If I take one step closer, I'll be back to nowhere.
Oh, every night is like a daze, but oh, I feel embraced. Yes, I know I'm running late. Let's wait just one more day. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. Oh, every night is like a daze, but oh, I feel embraced. Yes, I know I'm running late. Let's wait just one more day. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. stuck, maybe out of luck. I'm falling in and out of time. I hope that you come home, please pick up the phone. I need to know if you are fine. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. Oh, every night is like a day, but oh, I feel embraced. Yes, I know I'm running late. Let's wait just one more day. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken.
In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully. In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully. In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully. In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully.
Yeah, hey, when it feels like there's an angel watching over me, and I feel like I need more of people I believe. Cause the only people I can trust is me, myself, and I am restless. And I'm so fucking reckless. Why am I so fucking reckless? I guess that I've been bested. Hopefully I can be whatever, I don't need nobody else, yeah. I can see everything, I can be anything when I'm myself, yeah. But I'm afraid when I fade, I get lost, gonna find me. Now I can see it clear, you want me, rest in peace. But I don't want you anymore. You told me everything, but you were wrong. In a while you see the same spot. Good luck and have fun.
In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully. In bliss, I feel my body falling peacefully.
I'm fading away, but before I fade, I just wanna say, every time I see you, I miss you. You know I'd run 1,000 miles just to see you smile. See my reflection in your eyes, breath of the wild. This is my life, even if I hate it, it will always be mine. I'll just have to change it all, then I'll be just fine. I get used to make it, might as well try. I promise I won't fake it, baby, don't worry, I'm right here. I'm lonely, but you are my savior. It's cozy reflection in your eyes, breath of the world. Call me up if you wanna see me, feel free. I'll be up every time you need me. So see if you wanna be here for me, then we can be something. Call me up if you ever need assistance. If you do, I'll be there in an instant. I can fix it if you wanna listen, but for now I think I'll keep my distance.
Far as I can see, you are next to me. In this boat we made, sailing across the waves. When we reach the sea, don't give up on me. We still have a day to make our getaway. Living on the edge is the way to go. We'll drift off with the wind behind us. If you're feeling scared, I can be your rope. Pull you in, keep you safe and warm. So please don't leave, baby, don't lose hope. Put your mind at ease, it's a long way home. Cling to me on the ocean road. I could set you free, let me be your lifeboat. Let the ocean breeze bring you to your knees. When we reach the sand, you will understand. Baby, don't you see, we are all we need. Just another day to make our great escape. Baby, don't lose hope. Put your mind at ease, it's a long way home. Cling to me on the ocean road. I could set you free, let me be your lifeboat. Let me be your lifeboat.
We live in a cynical world.
Yeah, you gotta keep.
A cynical.
I'm not the love
You
inside of me,
complete me.
inside of me. Yeah, you gotta keep.
You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside of me. Where will you go? Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside of me. I'm not the love.
I am out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you. It is an up at dawn, pride swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about, okay? Help me. Help me. Help me.
Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside of me. Where will you go? Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside of me. Where will you go? Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside of me. Where will you go? Have you got a key? I'm not the love inside.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second round for Season 2 of the AOR Hype Energy Oceania F1 Championship on Xbox One, powered by Elgato here at the Shanghai International Circuit in downtown Shanghai. Last week's race was one of the best races in recent history in this tier, with Ryan and Warden fighting tooth and nail the entire race. Warden won the race on track, but it was Ryan claiming the victory after penalties were applied. I'm Greekmaster99, and joining me in the commentary box today is not Matt212, he's away this week. His replacement is Fitcho. And Fitcho, welcome to your first race commentating. We had a Titanic race last week with Ryan and Warden fighting for the win. But what challenges will the drivers face tonight here in Shanghai?
Well, there's going to be numerous challenges for the drivers. One of the big ones, I think, is actually going to be keeping the car behind you. As we know, there is a very, very long back straight here in China, one of the longest we have in Formula One. With the DRS down that straight, it's going to be a challenge to keep drivers behind. And that's not the only overtaking opportunity here either. Of course, up into the very tricky turn one that turns a full 280 degrees. That is a brilliant overtaking opportunity coming off the DRS straight, and of course the run down into turn 6. It's going to be a very interesting race tonight. China is typically a very divisive track among the drivers. Pad users tend to love this place, whereas the wheel users tend to not really like it so much. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Last week's protagonists, Warden and Ryan, are both on the pad, so expect to see them up the front tonight.
Indeed, and I'm pretty sure in all the leagues that I've competed in and that we've seen around this region, all the winners have been pad users. So it wouldn't surprise me tonight if either Warden or Ryan take victory here tonight. That being said, Team Malik should provide them a big challenge tonight after his difficult race last week being involved in the Turn 1 incident with DRC Jared. So he'll be looking to go a bit better this week after last week's race.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate race for Tim Marduk last week, of course, like you said, involved in an incident very, very early on, ruining all his hopes last week, and it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back this weekend. Like I was saying, this is a difficult track for wheel users, and as we all know, he is a wheel user. It's going to be interesting if he can take the fight to the front too. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. Of course, he does want to bounce back. Of course, he is going for the title, and he's already on the back foot, and I don't think China's going to be helping him much either.
Yep, so we can see what he can do now. He's just starting his first qualifying lap. Into the first corner he goes. Car looks good so far, maybe a little bit wide through turn 1, but looks good so far to me.
He now heads down through turns 3 and 4. A very difficult sequence there. He's got a lot of understeer and also a crucial corner as it sets up the run through the kink at 5 and down to 6. He gets past a slow-moving car that got well out of the way, so it shouldn't really hurt him. He did pinch the front right down into 6. That could cost him a little bit of time, but this is the first run of the session. This isn't necessarily going to be his fastest lap. Usually drivers are trying to set a banker and just put a decent lap on the board, so then they can really risk it all in the final moments of the session when the track is at optimal conditions.
Indeed they will, and it's overcast conditions as well, so maybe a little bit of rain later on in the session could happen. But a 24.5 middle sector for Ben, as he now always run a little bit wide there as he heads onto a very long, near mile long back straight.
Yes, onto the very long back straight, and meanwhile we're getting the first laps in. DCR Jared has gone 132.6 with Jetson F1 behind him with a 132.8. Not quite the pace we are expecting here tonight. It's probably a second off what I was probably expecting for Poland. As I say that, New Zealand Ryan has gone top with a 32.4. So here comes Tim Marduk up to the line. It's not a very quick lap. It's a 1:33.1. He'll definitely be looking to go a little bit faster on his next runs. That puts him currently in 5th place as we have 9 out of the 17 drivers setting laps so far.
Yeah, it didn't look like the best of laps from Ben there, Fitch. I don't know what you thought about it, but great lap there from Ryan, 32.4. That'll be hard to beat for many of the drivers. I'd be surprised if anyone got into the 31s. I think low 32s are what we should be expecting today. Who else is on that lap at the
Heading
moment?
into this session, I was expecting high 31s, like a 31.8 or 9 for pole, but the track conditions aren't optimal with this cloud cover right now, as we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. Let's see if we can find out what that is for. It looks like Rudnick Bird has gone off at turns 1 and 2, and he's gone for another spin in the Haas, putting the power down out of turn number 3, and now he's going backwards up the track, trying to find a safe gap to turn the car around. And I think he's got things sorted, or has he? He's on the grass on the other side of the track now. As the Williams goes past, he's back into the wall. I think he's got it under control now. A very hairy moment there for the Haas driver.
Just went on board with Ben. He got a big slipstream on the back straight from Chimcha. So let's see if this second lap can jump Ben up the order here. He comes up to the line now and goes second fastest. So indeed, that's toe down the back straight, help Ben.
Oh yes, definitely. A toe will make a huge difference here. We saw the McLarens trying that in real life just last week. Unfortunately, it didn't work for them, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight. That toe definitely helping Ben. But now Warden has just gone and set a 1:32.4, only fractionally quicker than his rival NZL Ryan.
Yep, on his second flying lap as well. So if Warden can't improve, he'll be starting on tyres that have done 2 laps in qualifying, whereas Ryan has done 1. And same as Ben, he's done 2 laps as well. So 2 out of the top 3 drivers, if they don't improve on their next runs, we'll be starting on tyres that have done 2 runs.
Yeah, that's definitely not ideal. I expect to see these guys going back out with a fresh set of boots in the final moments of this session, of course, once the track is rubbed in a bit and is at its fastest.
And look at the margin between the top 8, really, half a second between them all. So very, very tight up the sharp end of the field.
Yes, it's very, very close. Only half a second, like I said, separating the top 8 from Warden down to Neon Tree Dome in 8th place.
So who have we got on laps at the moment? Anyone else on laps?
It looks like a lot of drivers have finished their first run. We've got 4 minutes remaining in the session, just enough time to come back into the pit. So I was just watching Ben there for a second, and he's put a big flat spot on that tyre coming down to the final corner, and he's going to blast into the pit. So he definitely needs to improve on his next lap with his fresh set of tyres. Otherwise, he's got 2-lap-old tyres plus a big flat spot on the front right. That'll not be what he wants for the start of this Chinese Grand Prix.
No, it's not. It's Warren speeding into the pits there. I don't know what he was trying to do there. No penalty obviously given for speeding in the pits in qualifying. But yeah, he won't want to start on those tyres if they're indeed flat spotted and obviously done their 2 runs, which they have. So big pressure on Ben to improve on his second run.
Yeah, definitely. There's also big pressure on Master Berserk and Sado 15, as neither of them have set time so far. They're both on their outlap, so 1 crack at this, or maybe 2 actually. We've got 3.5 minutes to go in this session, but these tyres they're on now, if they get into the top 10, will be the tyres they start on, so they don't want to be making any mistakes, not getting any extra flat spots on those tyres. They want those tyres in the best condition possible for the start of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and Berserk will be really the one under the pump here, finishing second in last week's race. He won't want to be starting well down the order for not only his championship but the Constructors' Championship, because we're expecting a titanic season-long battle between the Mercedes drivers and the Ferrari drivers for the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want to see Master Berserk getting up that field a little bit. Of course, double podium for Ferrari last week, so they definitely want to have another strong showing. And so far, things are looking good with Warden on provisional pole with the 132.4, but currently Berserk without a lap on the board. He's coming down the back straight on his outlap, getting ready to start a lap as we have another incident in the first sector, and I didn't get a chance to see what that was. Looks like we have a few drivers getting towards the end of their outlaps, about to go for their final runs in qualifying. We're getting to the exciting end of the session. We've got 2 minutes left on the clock. All the drivers, except for the top 4 and Fevolution, are out on track currently. I assume all with fresh boots. The track is rubbered in. We're going to hopefully see some lightning quick times.
Yep, indeed. And the first driver who will be setting their flying lap on their final runs is Master Berserk. Obviously hasn't set his lap time so far, so this will be crucial for him to get himself up the order and nail a lap in. He's made a mistake. He spun the car, and that is not good for him, and that's going to ruin his tyres and put a big mark on them. And I don't know if he'll be able to get a second lap in now with the tyres in their optimal performance window.
Yeah, those tyres are not going to be in good condition now. The pressure is definitely on. No time on the board. He's down in 16th place. He's got time to do 1 more lap with less than ideal tyres, so the pressure is really on Berserk. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get his composure back and put together a decent lap. So I'm watching him now. He's actually running off the track, trying to give a few people some space at the double left.
Yeah, that was a bit strange, because it was HO he was letting through, and he's on the outlap as well.
That is true, but as a driver, I know you don't really know who's on quick laps and who's on outlap, so you don't want to take the risk of balking someone in a qualifying session, as something's happened in Sector 3.
It's death. I'm not sure if he's lagging or something.
He's going very slow at the end of the back straight, 50 meters before the corner. Maybe he's trying to find some space, but he's going so slow with so many cars bearing down on him. He's going to lose all his time, not all his time, all his heat in his tyres, and he won't be ready for his next flying lap, as we have a lot, and he's just retired from the session as I say that, as now I think everyone has started their final flying lap of the session. Actually, Warden is about to come up to the line with 15 seconds to go. So he's going to have the best conditions on track to set a time, and he's already sitting in provisional pole, so things are looking very good for the number 9 Ferrari right now.
Yep, and things looking good for the Mercedes of New Zealand. Ryan, fastest in the first sector. He's just 800ths up on his best first sector time from his first run, so at the moment Ryan's looking good for pole if he can keep this lap together through the double left-hander now and up towards the end of sector 2. What's his middle sector like? It's a 24.4, and what's it like compared to the best overall? It's another 10th up, so 2 tenths up so far on his last run, which put him on track for a 32.2.
That'll put him on pole at the moment. We still have Warden and Tim at Marduk still on laps, and I didn't realize Tim Marduk actually started his lap after Warden, so he's got even better track conditions than the Ferrari, as DCR Jared puts in a 32.4, just pipping Warden to provisional pole. But like we've seen, we've got Enzel Ryan on a very, very quick lap as he rounds the final corner, back on the power through the gears. DRS flap is open across the line, and it's a 1:31.9, a stonking lap from Ryan. That should be good enough for pole. It'll be interesting to see what Warden 99 can do as he comes down to the hairpin. Only 2 corners left to navigate for the Ferrari. Gets very, very sideways on the curb. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Enzio Ryan unless he's put together some very good first and second sectors. Across the line he goes, and it's only good enough for second with a 32.1.
Yep, Team at Marduk across the line now, and he goes third fastest. So, Ryan looks like he's done it. Pole position for the champion. Only man into the 131s. And Berserk did end up getting the lap in. And he went fourth fastest. Fourth fastest
for Berserk. That's an impressive bounce back considering his mistake on what was one of his only 2 laps he could complete on the same set of tyres as well. So his tyres aren't going to be in a good condition compared to the 3 drivers in front of him, unfortunately.
Yep, so there are the qualifying results. Ryan on pole by just under 0.2 of a second from Warden. Ben in third. Berserk, Jared, HO, Jetson, Neon, Palms, Drop Bear, and Kimchar, Brock, Sato, and can I get everyone else in? Death, Ruthnik Bird, and Fevelation, I think, was last on the grid. But we're about to get underway here in China. And Lachlan, who's your prediction? Who do you think is going to do well tonight?
It's going to be a very interesting race. That lap from Ryan was a very, very impressive lap. I think it was 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Warden. He's really thrown down the gauntlet with that. And I've just seen, we have rain tonight, and I'm not too sure what Ryan is like in the rain, but from memory, Warden, he is a demon in the rain. So I think I might actually put my money on Warden. I was going to say Ryan, but these weather conditions have changed my mind. So we are about to get going here in China for the Chinese Grand Prix. We are 10 seconds away from the race start. Building up to be a very exciting race, and these weather conditions have definitely thrown a spanner in the works, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. As here we go, building up to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix here in Shanghai in some very treacherous conditions. It's been a good start from Ryan off pole. He's got Warden up his insides. Now Ben is trying to go around the outsides. We've got 2 Ferraris on the inside, 2 Mercedes on the outside as we wind our way up through turns 1 and 2. We've got yellow flags further back in the pack as now turn number 3 favors the Mercedes on the inside. Ryan trying to get the traction down. He's still going side by side with Warden. I think he has just got the position as we head through the kink. R5 very, very close between the 2 championship rivals. Down to turn number 6, Tim at Marduk getting very, very wide in the background. I think Master Berserk is going to slip through there as now we're settling down as we head into turn number 7. Enzio Ryan in the lead of this race with Warden breathing down his neck. Then we've got Master Berserk and Tim at Marduk. Acho sitting in 5th place in the Red Bull with DCR Jared in 6th place as now we wind our way down through the double left hand now. So we've got a change of position down the field. Rodnick Bird moving up past Poms, and Brock does stuff as Poms actually gets back past Rodnick Bird as now we head down towards the final few corners before we head onto the very long back straight. Of course, lap 1, no DRS, and of course the rain. So no DRS for that reason, as well as we now round onto the long back straight. It looks like Ryan has a little bit of a gap. He's built out a buffer of over a second as we head onto this straight. It's going to be interesting between Warden and Tim Marduk as we come down towards the hairpin. I don't think Tim Marduk is close enough for a move. We've got Berserk and I think that is DCR Jared going side by side. There's a little bit of contact down at the hairpin as we head through to end the first lap here as the Toro Rosso is getting very, very sideways through the final corner. We're going. We've got Master Berserk already diving into the pit lane. Not too sure what is going on here. It looks like he might have a little bit of front wing damage on the front right end plate. Not ideal there for the Ferrari team. They have one driver sitting in second, which is great for them, but the other driver in the pit lane, while their championship rivals Mercedes are currently running in first and third. And we have a number of drivers in the pit lane, actually. We also have Formula Fish, Deathbro, and Brock does stuff in the pits early in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, Zerk. It's like he has changed front wing there. But, yeah, good start from Ryan, pulling away from Warden. Not sure what actually happened in the back end of the field there. I'm not sure why Death and Brock are in the pits. Didn't see what happened. Did you see what happened?
I didn't, unfortunately, but I do see a fair bit of debris down at the first of the two left-hands. I think that is turn number 9. Unfortunately, we don't have instant replay here, so we can't go back and have a little bit through the back of the field. And of course, we want to keep our focus at the front, see who's going to win this race, where the championship fight is. As you can see, the drivers really squirming around in these difficult conditions. You can see that Mercedes gliding around of NZL Ryan as we come onto the back straight. The gap has dropped down to 0.8 of a second. Warden starting to find his feet in these conditions into the slipstream. He goes. He's definitely not going to be close enough down this straight, but that slipstream will just edge him a little bit closer. He's just keep edging closer and closer. Of course, this is a long race. We've got 28 laps, so if he just gets a little bit closer every lap, and then a few laps, he'll be there and ready to pounce.
Yeah, Warren definitely looks like he's picking up his pace. So we'll see what happens with the battle up front, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's equally as good as last week's race, because we know how good that was. Warden sets the fast lap of the race. He went 2/10 faster than Ryan on that last lap. Tim Malak starting to lose a little bit of ground. In fact, he's run wide at turn 1 there a little bit. So he's losing a little bit of ground to the front too. And it's not too much of a surprise considering the game tends to favour the pad in the wet and around his circuit. So
yeah, that double whammy there for Timo Marduk is definitely not going to help him with him being on the wheel, whereas the front two, Ryan and Warden, are on the pad. And I'm not sure, is Acho on the wheel or the pad?
Acho is on the wheel as well.
Okay, so that's going to make an interesting fight between Timo Marduk and Acho, as they're both sort of got the same controller input, so the game won't favour either of them anyway, so it'll be completely down to driver skill between those two, as they are starting to lose a little bit of touch with the front two. The gap's actually stayed around 1.5 seconds for most of this lap. They're starting to find the grip in these conditions. That's what you got to do. You got to search around, just turn lap after lap, find where you can take speed, how much speed you can take, where the grip is, where it isn't. It takes some time, and it sort of shows the driver's skill, how quickly they can find that grip and adapt to that and get in those quick lap times.
Yep. So, and also another thing, Lachlan, 3rd to 6th. So Ben, Ho, Jared, and Leon, they're all on the wheel. So it's not just Ben and Ho.
Interesting to see such a big group of wheel users towards the front. So that is what 2/3 of the front 6 are all on wheels at China in the wet. That is not something you would normally expect. So it looks like Warden has pulled in about another 10th on Ryan in this lap, as I think one of them went a little bit wide. It's actually, he's pulled in another 2/10 coming out of that final corner, so I think NZL Ryan did run a little bit wide. The gap is now down to 0.3 of a second, another 10th pulled in there. Meanwhile, Tim Marduk is starting to fall back. Warden is now within striking distance, I'd say. He is right up the gearbox of that Mercedes. This is going to get interesting.
It will be interesting, and I'm looking forward to this. Half a second between the top two, and we know last week in Melbourne the gap very rarely went over a second. So hopefully these two can provide us, like I said, as good a racing as we had last week. Martin Zerk sets the fast lap of the race, so disappointing for him after that early pit stop. I'm not sure why. We'll find out later on what happened to him. Maybe he got into a bit of contact with someone at the start. But
yeah, I did jump on board with him when he entered the pit lane. He clearly had a bit of damage right of his wing, so must have been some sort of contact in the field there somewhere that I didn't actually catch, unfortunately.
So there we go. That explains it. So he must have done on one of the Mercedes cars. Must have been on Ben, because I didn't see him spin or having the contact with anyone. So may have been with someone. We've got some yellow flags in sector 2.
And it is the Haas of Rudnick Bird that has gone for a spin coming out of turn number 10. He definitely has a little bit of wing damage. I think he was fighting around with Poms and Sado, as those two are going side by side. Sado getting hung out to dry on the curb there, coming through the long left-hander onto the back straight. An interesting battle brewing here further back in the pack. So it looks like Neon has actually made a move on Jetson. We've got more battling. I don't know where to look right now. There is some great battling going on as Team of Marduk actually sets the fastest lap of the race, pulling that gap in back to the leaders. There's too much to talk about right now.
It's exactly what we want to see as Jared dives into the pitch. So, first of the three's got front wing damage as well, so he must have hit someone. Maybe Acho, was it Acho who was behind? So he's got front wing damage too. So that's unfortunate for him, but...
And just sorry to interrupt, there's been another incident, I think, with Master Berserk, possibly, as I saw yellow flags in the third sector and he was going very slow. I think, or maybe that was Rudnick Bird. I thought there might have been a coming together there as Rudnick Bird has now made his way back into the pit lane to repair that wing damage.
Yeah, Master Berserk was definitely involved. The 155 on his last lap compared to 48 for the leader. So definitely Berserk was involved in that incident.
Yeah.
But look at this top two, 3/10 apart.
Yes, it's a very tasty battle. It's all through the field right now. I don't know where to look. We've got the front two separated by 4/10, going hammer and tong, lap time after lap time. Not quite close enough to pounce right now. It's very tricky conditions, so you don't want to try anything too risky, especially this early in the race. You still want to just keep getting some laps under your belt, learn the conditions and find your feet, work out where the grip is, and make sure you get really close before you try something. It's hard to go for an ultra-aggressive move in such difficult conditions. We've also got battles going further on down the field that unfortunately did lead to a little bit of contact, like Rudnick Bird, for example. So the gap is now 4/10 of a second as the leaders come around the final corner to end lap number 5 of 28 lap Chinese Grand Prix. And looking a little bit further back, we've got Team Marduk in third place, 1.7 seconds behind the leaders, and it looks like he is starting to pull away from Acho, who's pulled a big gap from Neon Tridome. Now 6 seconds separating 4th and 5th.
Yeah, Neon's just, as you said, losing touch between the top 4, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Ben can start working his way into the scrap between first and second. He's starting to close the gap. It was 2 seconds at one stage, and now it's at 1.7 seconds. And he did set the fastest lap of the race
a few laps ago, I think it was.
Yeah,
that gap's been varying between about 1.5 and 2. It'll be interesting to see if he can claw them in a little bit. He's still very, very close. So maybe if he can just claw it in a little bit, start to get in that slipstream, and that'll bring him right up to this front battle and make it a three-way fight for the lead of this Grand Prix. But just casting our eyes a bit further down the field, it looks to be a good battle going on between Chimchar and Drop Bear over 7th place. It's just blown out a little bit as Drop Bear has made a mistake. They were very, very close on track.
Yep. So Chimchar, obviously, a bit of news. He's doing this race with a broken finger on a
That's
wheel.
impressive. That is commitment right there. He's doing very, very well considering those limitations of a broken finger. I won't lie, if I had a broken finger, I don't think I would be racing right now.
So he's in a lot of pain. I spoke to him earlier today. He's in a little bit of pain with the finger, but he said he's going to soldier on and do the best he can, and he's doing a great job in 7th place right now. Just 3 seconds behind Jetson.
Good on him. He is doing a solid job right now, especially given these tricky conditions right now. I assume he would have been wanting a very dry race for tonight, but instead the weather has thrown a curveball in there, and that's just going to make things so much harder with him and his broken finger. And right now he has Drop Bear breathing down his neck in the Haas, only 7/10 of a second separating the pair of them. And now, if we quickly look further down the field, we've got a very tasty battle between Deathbro and Brock Does Stuff as the McLaren tries to defend from the Renault onto the back straight. Of course, no DRS in the rain. We've got the McLaren on the inside, the Renault on the outside with the run down towards the hairpin. Can Brock Does Stuff make this work? Around the outside, into the hairpin we go. There's a little bit of contact between the two, and Brock has a massive slide on the curb, trying to get the power down. Is he still up the inside? No, he's not. He's going to have to concede that and fall back in behind the McLaren of Death Row and have another crack next lap.
battles all over the field. It's just anywhere you look, even for the last place, the battle between Luke and Ruth in third. Just everywhere.
Those two are very, very close as they come through the final corner and Luke gets a little bit wide there on that exit curve and loses a little bit of time. As now we cast our eyes back to the front of the field, it looks like Team Marduk is definitely closing up to that front battle. Only 1.1 seconds now between him and Ward, and this is setting itself up to be a very, very interesting race at the front of the field.
Yeah, so he's definitely picked up his pace as Ben. Obviously, like I said a few laps ago, 2 seconds he was once behind, and now 1.2 seconds. It'll be interesting to see like what happens with the weather. If it remains intermediate conditions, if it goes full wets as Ben sets the fastest lap of the race. So he's definitely got some pace now. Or if it dries up and becomes slick. So obviously the weather will be interesting to see.
Very interesting. Of course, the drivers will have had a little bit of information whether it's likely to do throughout the course of this race, but unfortunately us up here in the commentary box, we're completely blind right now. We don't know if there's suddenly going to be a monsoon or the sun's going to start shining. We have no clue, and that just makes it all that much more exciting for us because we have no idea what is about to happen in front of us as Ben has a big double lockup down into turn number 6 and runs a little bit wide. He's just dropped off the pace. He's made a couple of mistakes on this lap, back out to 1.8 seconds at the front of the field.
Yep, Master Berserk setting the fast lap of the race again, so whatever issues he had before with that poor lap he did a few laps ago, obviously nothing happened with it. So he's got good pace and he's just passed Shadow for 11th place. So
there's still a very hasty battle going on between Death and Brock as they come down the main straight. Brock wants to find his way past that McLaren desperately into turn number 1. He sweeps around the outside. Can he do it in these very, very tricky conditions? No, I don't think he's going to be able to. He just holds it on the track and avoids the grass. He has to slot back in behind that McLaren. I think he's getting a bit sick of seeing that McLaren gearbox right now. As out of turn 4 he comes. He's very, very sideways, a bit aggressive on that throttle, taking his frustration out on the pedals down to turn 6. He is not quite close enough now as he runs a little bit wide. Maybe trying to get a bit of a switch back here as the McLaren gets quite sideways, and so does the Renault as now we head up towards turn number 7. He sticks his nose up the inside of the far left and he makes that move stick. A brilliant move there from Brock does stuff in the Renault to make his way past Death, and that is only for 13th place, and these guys are racing hard back in the field. That's not even for points. This is some very impressive car control and racing going on right now in some very tricky conditions.
Great move there from Brock. And what's happened here?
There's been a little bit of lag there. Brock ghosted and the McLaren drove straight back through him. So I doubt that Brock is going to be too happy. All that hard pulling off an awesome move to make his way past that McLaren. And now he's staring at the gearbox again as we come onto the back straight. I don't think he is going to be close enough right now. Of course, like I've said a few times, in these wet weather conditions, we don't have DRS, so it's all down to the slipstream. He's getting a good tow. Death goes defensive down into the hairpin. Brock on the outside is going to try to capitalize on having the wide entrance. Goes for the switchback. Beautiful move, getting quite sideways on the power, I should say, and he does make that move stick. Death didn't put up much of a fight there, and Brock has now made that move stick up into 13th place.
Yep, and another battle forming is between Jared and Berserk for the final points paying position in 10th place. Looks like Berserk did pass Jared on the back straight, but Jared obviously rigged past him into turn 14 hairpin. So these two, obviously Berserk looks much faster. And Jared, he did pit a few laps ago, so technically he's on fresher tyres, but you can see the difference between Berserk on the pad and Jared on the wheel. It's just massive difference.
Yeah, I don't expect this battle to last long. Of course, Berserk qualified up in 4th place and had an unfortunate incident first lap that we didn't see. Had front wing damage and had to pit, so he thinks he should be further up the field, and he probably deserves to be with his pace, so he's going to be a bit frustrated and a bit of a hurry to get past Jared, but hopefully he takes his time, makes a good move, and doesn't get them both in a bit more trouble and make something stupid. As now we head onto the back straight in the slipstream of the Toro Rosso. The Ferrari should be able to just blast past with the slipstream. Jared goes defensive. Berserk has to go to the outside. A big lockup. Can he go for the switchback and do what Brock does? No, he does the opposite and tries to hang it right around the outside. A little bit of contact between the two cars, but Berserk cannot make that stick around the outside.
You can tell he's got so much more pace than the Toro Rosso driver. I reckon you're right. He should have gone for the switchback move like Brock did, but maybe he'll try it again next lap. Maybe he'll learn from that and go, all right, maybe going around the outside doesn't work, or he might try pass him into turn 6 maybe, but he's really losing a lot of time behind Jared.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for something aggressive here. It looks like he is getting frustrated behind the Toro. Probably should. And he might try something a bit stupid, but he's not quite close enough at the moment. And possibly we'll see him going for another move down the back straight. If Jared goes defensive, Berserk should go for the switchback. Hopefully he learns from that previous lap. If he goes to the outside again, then geez, I don't know. That's not very, very smart. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, the gap at the front is actually blown out to over a second. Ryan pulling away from Warden, and the gap back to team at Marduk is now 2.4 seconds. So all those margins are starting to spread out a little bit as this race wears on. Ryan coming out on top as we go back to the Berserk and Jared battle as they round this long and tricky right-hander, especially in these conditions. It is so difficult in the dry just getting the power down. The car's squirming around, add a bit of rain, a little bit less grip, and it is so tricky. As now onto the back straight we come.
Yep, onto the back straight we come. Berserk in the slipstream, and he's not gaining a lot in the slipstream compared to what you might think, and he's not actually close enough to make a move into the head, but Jared
he's trying something aggressive.
Very close, they're side by side into the final corner. Jared's got the inside line. Does Berserk back out? He does, and Jared parks on the apex a little bit, so Berserk couldn't put the power down early and blow by into turn 1. So frustrating for Berserk. He just can't get past him.
Yeah, he is struggling to find a way past Jared. He tried something very aggressive, a bit Verstappen-esque like we saw in the real-life Grand Prix, except he was a little bit more successful with it in terms of not hitting and spinning the other car. But he couldn't quite make that move stick, unfortunately. Jared with some very good defensive driving there, just parking the car in the right spot through that final corner to make sure he kills any run that the Ferrari had to get rid of any threat down into the first corner as they are both struggling down into turn 6. It's getting very close between the Ferrari and the Toro Rosso as we head into turn number 7. The dirty air is going to be affecting that Ferrari a little bit there, as that is a very high-speed corner.
Yeah, it is, but it's not affecting him too much. Right on his gearbox, he's almost pushing the Toro Rosso along. So he's got a run here, has he? No, he just didn't have the traction to get the run that he could have had, but he'll try and get onto the back straight. Jared sliding the car massively there, and we'll see if Berserk can actually get back underneath him before they get onto the back straight. They're very close. Another slide from Jared, and we head onto the back straight now. Jared is holding on, but Berserk is much closer than he was this time last lap in the slipstream. No DRS obviously, and up the inside. He's close enough this time. Can he make the move stick? The side by side. Berserk gives him some room. Jared had a big slide, and he actually hit Berserk there, but thankfully for him, no damage, and Berserk carries on in 10th place.
So Berserk finally making his way past Jared, and meanwhile, all that was happening, Brock does stuff as out of spin further back in the pack, in the middle sector, and he's actually dropped back behind the McLaren of Death Row that he worked so hard to overtake. He's actually 3.5 seconds down behind that McLaren, so an unfortunate mistake there for Brock. At least I think it was a mistake. I didn't see the incident, unfortunately. There could have been contact between the two, for all I know.
Unfortunate for him. We've got yellows in sector 3 and one to death. He's dropped it on the exit of the turn 14 hairpin by the looks of it.
Yeah,
And
that is a
he's out of the
sorry-looking
race.
McLaren. That front right does not look like it's in the right spot. Suspension is broken. It's such tricky conditions here. And coming out of the hairpin, that is a big traction zone, of course, such a slow corner. You've got to get the car up to speed, and with the rain, such low grip, it is so difficult to get that power down. You've got to feather that throttle so much. He's just given it a little bit too much. Those rears have lit up, and he's just spun into the wall. Very unfortunate there for Death Bro and the McLaren team.
You're not getting a very good luck with McLaren, even on the game. They still can't manage to finish
Can't catch a
the race.
break, can I?
But
meanwhile, we have a very close battle with Berserk clearly having a lot of pace. He's now pumping the Force Inner as he head down the back straight. Isn't even putting up any sort of a fight. He lets Berserk go to the inside. Probably a smart move from Poms as we head down into the hairpin. He knows this isn't necessarily his fight. Berserk has got far too much pace, and he lets him go without losing too much time himself, as he's still got Jared just behind him, and Poms actually dives off into the pit lane. So we've got the first of our pit stops, it looks like, and I don't think... Okay, actually, apologies, this is for wing damage. I was about to say I don't think this is for wing damage, but as I jump on board with him, there is a huge chunk of front wing missing from the left side of his car. I'm not too sure what has happened there for Poms for the win 87, but he does have to do a front wing change. Very unfortunate there for the Force India driver.
yeah, maybe he had it earlier on in the race and it was just putting up with it until the pit stop window opened, but...
That is possible. I'm not too sure what a wet race would be like here. Do you think drivers are going to go all the way to the end on the set of the intermediate tyres, or they're going to have to make us halfway through the race?
You have to make a pit stop. I don't think the intermediate tyres can get to the end of the race without stopping. If they do, they'll be screaming their heads off, but I think you'll see everyone peel into the pits for a fresh set of intermediate tyres.
So I think that explains Poms for the win stop. He's had that front wing damage probably earlier on. And we're now lap 13 of 28.
Speaking of, Warden's in.
He is too. As we're speaking of pit stops, we get a bit of action up the front of the field with some pit stops. Warden blinking first, I should say, out of the front few drivers, coming in for a fresh set of the intermediate tyres. So it looks like the conditions haven't changed at all during this race. We still have this constant light rain. It's going to be interesting to see how much of an undercut this gets him. Surely Ryan is going to have to react on this very next lap. And it looks like Tim at Marduk is actually pitted as well. Same with Neon Tridome and Jetson. A lot of action down in pit lane right now.
Yeah, great call from Warden, I reckon. I reckon he's going to have a very big chance of undercutting Ryan.
Drop Bear has just got a 5-second stop go for speeding in pit lane. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, that's not too good for him. Berserk is another fast race. So he's got great pace, Berserk. I mean, another fast lap on, what, 12, 13 lap intermediate tyres.
Yeah, unfortunate with the early incident. He's got the pace. I feel sorry for him. There's nothing more frustrating than knowing you have the pace to run at the front, but just not being able to through to some incident early on in the race. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yep. So the pit stop window you need around 21 seconds. And at the moment, Ryan has just got that on Warden. So if Ryan pits this lap, it's going to be mega close to see who comes out between the Ferrari and the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because we had both Warden and Tim at Marduk dive into the pit lane. I assume that's probably been a reaction from Ben to Warden pitting. A very smart call there, thinking on the fly there from Ben. It looks like Ryan has been called out with the two drivers just behind him, blinking first. As into the pit lane he goes. He goes a little bit wide, and he is counting his lucky stars that they have turned that into asphalt rather than gravel. But of course, we saw Lewis Hamilton beaching it there in 2007, costing him the world title. Unfortunately, they've changed that from gravel to some tarmac as he switched on to a fresh set of intermediate tyres. This is going to be very close coming out of the pit lane. I'm going to jump on board with Warden. He crosses the start-finish line, flying down
Warden's
the main straight. He has got him. Back to Tim at Marduk, who's just crossed the line now, and he is going to come in just behind NZL Ryan. So Warden blinking first on the strategy, making that undercut work, and taking the lead away from his arch rival, New Zealand Ryan. Great call there from the Ferrari guys.
Exactly, great call from Warden. I'm surprised Ryan didn't dive in first, knowing what the undercut is like. I mean, they've all done wet races around here, like I said. So I'm surprised Ryan didn't know. Unless Ryan believes he's got the pace to close Warden back down, then I'm surprised he didn't go for the move. But Ben, remember how he was closing the gap before? It's now 4 seconds after the pit stop, so
yeah. While we were watching a lot of battles further down the field, I was keeping my eye on all the gaps at the front of the field were blowing out a little bit. It got out to about a second between first and second, and it was out to about 2 or 3 seconds back to Tim at Marduk.
Yeah, so obviously it shows the pace between the top two on the pad. Looks like they've picked up their game a little bit, and got a little bit of lag here, but seems to have fixed itself up now.
So it's going to be interesting. We've got about, what is that? We've 13 laps to go in this Grand. We've got New Zealand 1.6 seconds behind Warden. They're both on intermediate times, but Ryan's is a little bit fresher. It's only one lap, but that is fresher tyres than Warden. That's one less lap on those tyres, one less lap worth of wear. So those tyres should be fractionally quicker, as Warden has a little bit of traffic right in front of him as we head onto the pit straight. That is Fevolution, who is now out of the way, and hopefully he doesn't hold up New Zealand right, and he gets well out of the way as we head up into turn number 1. So it's going to be interesting to monitor this gap at the front of the field. Can Ryan bounce back after being caught out by a great strategy call from Ferrari and make the use of those ever so slightly fresher tyres in these conditions and fight back and take the win here in China?
Have to wait and see. We've got 13 laps to find out. Been a very quick race. Despite it being wet, this race has just flown by.
It has. There's been action all through the field. I don't know where to look half the time, as I'm currently watching Formula and Sado go at it, as Formula Fish takes a little bit of a cheeky line through turn number 11 and gets a 5-second stop and go for his troubles there. As onto the back straight we go. The Williams of Sado is right behind Formula Fish's Renault in the slipstream as we head onto the back straight, now into the DRS zone. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, and that Williams just blasts past that Renault with ease, and it looks like Formula Fish hasn't put up much of a fight. He's let Sado go there, braking a bit earlier for the hairpin. Sado now moving himself up into 12th place, but he's 28 seconds off Poms for the win, so this battle isn't really for any points at all, as Formula Fish actually dives into the pits, and Sado even gets a penalty now for running a little bit wide through the final corner.
Yeah, he did. I think it was actually for corner cutting, the final corner, but we'll have to see later on what it was. But the gap out in front, it's not really come down. It's still hovering around 1.6, 1.7 seconds. So, I tell you, I reckon Warden might have this. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting. I think you're probably right now. I'm not convinced with the current pace I'm seeing with Warden setting the that Ryan's going to be able to pull in that gap. I think Warden and Ferrari have won this race by blinking first and going for that undercut.
Yep. I've got a lot of lag right now. Can't really tell what's going on very well. We got any battles happening?
It doesn't look like we have that much action going on in the field right now. Acho is within a second of Tim Marduk right now, as it looks like they are coming through which part of the track? They're coming... Oh my god, my eyes are deceiving me right now. They're coming out of into the fast left-hander of turn number 7. It looks like this is the closest on-track battle that we have currently at about 9/10 of a second, as Master Berserk now sets the fastest lap of this Grand Prix, as he is sitting down in 9th place, trying to catch up to Drop Bear. Only 1.6 seconds between the two of them now, and he is down to 1.4. He is catching Drop Bear quite quickly. He has a few drivers in his sight, so it looks like it is Chimchar just in front of Drop Bear. Then a bit of a gap up to Jetson. So Berserk's got a couple of drivers in his sights, so he sets some very quick laps in this Grand Prix. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can pick through Drop Bear and Chimchar, and if he can get up to Jetson and possibly Neon Tree Dome.
Oh, to cut you off, we got Brock and Sado side by side into the first corner. It's all slow motion for me. I got so much lag right now, I can't actually tell what's going on very well. But it looks
we have
like
Sado just in front of Brock Does Stuff as we come out of Renault, getting very, very sideways back from the Williams of Sado as we head down into turn number 6. Brock is waiting patiently, not going for anything too aggressive. He's getting very, very sideways. This driver is really struggling with these treacherous conditions. Like I've said before, it is so difficult to get the power down in these intermediate conditions. So much power and torque in these modern day Formula 1 cars, and with this range, so little grip, and it's all going to those two rear tires, and you're just going to modulate it with your right foot. It gets very, very difficult to control it, as we see Sado struggling with it a little bit through the double left-hander as we're coming up to the back straight very, very soon through this tight left-hander. It's going to be interesting to see if Brock can get a run as Sado gets a little bit of a slide mid-corner, and it's really compromised his line. Can Brock get under him through this fast right-hander as we come onto the back straight? Not quite, as the Williams is getting sideways yet again. Onto the back straight we come, surely with that big slide from Sado. Brock will have the run as now we head into the DRS zone. Still no DRS, this is a lot of rain still falling. As we head down towards hairpin, that Renault is not gaining as much as I thought. That Williams must be running very, very low downforce as they give each other a lot of space there in the hairpin. Brock cutting it and Sado going a fair bit wide, but they both get through there unscathed and fight for another day.
Yeah, it looks like Sado, as you said, must have some very low downforce on. Or maybe, was Brock and Rich? Was it, hello, are we here?
Technical difficulties.
We're here? Okay.
Apologies.
I lost you for a minute. I didn't know where you went. Me or you?
Oh, it's a big slide from Brock, and Sado has nowhere to go but into the side of him, and hopefully he hasn't got too much front wing damage there as he does take that position from Brock does stuff after the Renault made a very bold move into the first corner. As you can just see how much they're struggling in these conditions, the rear just giving up on Sado there in the middle of turn number 6. Now Brock lags up beside the Williams on my screen. Was having a few technical difficulties here with the connection. This is the problem with racing with Australians sometimes. We are known for not having the best internet in the world, but nonetheless the driver's doing a very good job finding some difficult connections and some very treacherous conditions.
Yeah, I've been struggling all race with the connection. I'm not sure what's going on here. Brock's passed him for me, then didn't pass him, and they're into each other. I'm not sure what's actually going on here. It's very weird.
All I know is Sado is still in front of Brock as they are now coming onto the back straight yet again, as now they come onto the back straight. I've just said that. Fantastic commentary. As the Williams is lagging forward a little bit. It's hard to tell how much the Renault is gaining right now, as we are having some connection issues as we head down towards the hairpin. I don't think the Renault is going to be close enough. No, he is not. And while those guys are fighting, I'm going to cast my eyes back to the front of the field. Keep you guys posted on this battle at the front of the field that we have our eyes fixed on. We have Warden leading with 1.6 seconds back to New Zealand Ryan. So that gap is staying about the same. A few laps ago, it was 1.7. So it doesn't look like Ryan has the pace to catch up to Warden as we start lap number 20 of 28 here in China, and Tim Madu is about 6 seconds back off New Zealand and Ryan, with Acho 2 seconds behind him as Ryan actually sets the fastest lap of the race. Ryan, as I say, is not catching Warden. He goes and puts in a stonking last sector, makes up a little bit of time. Now the gap is down to 1.3 seconds.
Yep, so Ryan is definitely starting here. So we'll see what happens with these two. I don't know. I still reckon Warden's got this.
It's going to be interesting. Ryan's just had a sudden burst of pace in that, it's just in that last sector of lone of that last lap, because when I came on board with him down the back straight, it was still about 1.7 and it dropped down to 1.3 across the line. He must have had a brilliant run through the hairpin in the final corner, and now it's almost within a second, exactly 1 second right now as we head through 7, 8, 9, and 10. It's going to be interesting. I was thinking Warden has this, but Ryan, he's finding a little bit of pace right now. Maybe Warden's struggling. I am not too sure. It's so hard to tell in these tricky conditions. The cars are always dancing around a little bit. It's hard to tell who's struggling more than others. As we now head onto the back straight, that gap still hovering about a second. Ryan should be close enough to get a little bit of a toe off Warden as we head down this very, very long back straight. The gap dropped down to 0.8 of a second, and Warden is doing a little bit of weaving now, trying to break that toe, and that gap is coming down, now down to 0.7 of a second as we head down towards the hairpin. Of course, not close enough for an overtake just yet, but he's just edging that ever so slightly closer, and it's going to make for a very exciting finish to this Grand Prix if Ryan can get close enough to that Ferrari. We can have a bit of a fight at the front of the field. So as we start lap 21 of this Grand Prix, let's just have a little bit of a run through of the order. There's been a lot of action in this race and it's hard to keep up with as we go. So currently we have Warden and New Zealand Ryan in a battle at the front of this field. This is who we have our eyes fixated on right now. Then we have Tia Marduk sitting in 3rd place. He's dropped a little bit ways back, down now 7 seconds back off New Zealand Ryan, and he has Acho for company in 4th place. There's 2 seconds separating them. Then Neon Tridome is sitting in 5th place in his Force India, a long way back, 23 seconds off the front 4, but he's doing a great job. He's made up 3 positions in this Grand Prix from 8th place on the grid. Then we've got Jetson F1 a further 3 seconds behind, sitting in 6th place. Berserk, after he qualified 4th and an early incident, he's now up into 7th. He was last after the first lap, making an early pit stop with some front wing damage. So a great fight back from him to be up into the points, into 7th place, only 5 seconds behind Jetson, and he has had some very impressive pace throughout this Grand Prix. He might just be able to get Jetson and get up into 6th. It'll be interesting to see how that battle plays out. Then we have Chimchar sitting in 8th place, who's doing a fantastic job in these tricky conditions. Of course, Greek said earlier in the race that he is currently sporting a broken finger, and he of course is driving on a wheel, so he's doing a fantastic job in such tricky conditions. Broken finger, and as I say that, he almost goes for a spin. A huge moment there at turn 6, and he actually loses a position to Drop Bear, who makes up capitalizes on that mistake and sneaks to his Jetson F1 has just left the session. Okay, I think Berserk's definitely going to get 6th place here. I'm not too sure what's going on further up the field, as now we have a very interesting battle going on between Drop Bear and Chimchar. And quickly we'll go back to Jared, who's also on the back of these guys. He's going for a move on Chimchar as they head up to the tight left-hander just before the DRS detection point. He's got the inside line on Chimchar. Can he make this work? He tries to squeeze out the Red Bull, and he's been forced wide out onto the curb, and he loses that position back down into 10th place. This is a very interesting battle brewing, a 3-way battle over the last 3 points paying positions with Drop Bear, Chimchar and DRC Jared as we head onto the back straight. Jared had a horrible run, so I don't think he's going to be close enough to Chimchar. Now quickly going further back through the order, just outside the points we have Poms Lewin currently sitting in 11th place. He's dropped 2 positions throughout this Grand Prix, but I believe he's been sporting wing damage for the majority of this race. Then we have Sado sitting in 12th, of course a debutant here in F1. Same with the guy right behind him, Formula Fish in the Renault, who is struggling a little bit in 13th place. He's getting out on the curbs as Jetson has pitted in. Of course, he just left the race, so that's moved everyone up a position. Berserk into 6th, Drop Bear, Chimchar, and Jared up a position as well. As I'm going to quickly jump back onto Jared. There's a big battle going on between him and Chimchar, and I just missed that. He's made an overtake on Chimchar for 8th place through the first corner.
Yeah, Helen Marco won't be happy with these 2 drivers making the contact they were making. He'll be livid, but thankfully Jared was able to get his way past the Red Bull without too many issues, and Chimchar has gone off the road again.
Huge issues there for
could
Chimchar.
lose a place.
No, that's Evolution behind him. He's lap down. Who's also a debutant, I believe, in this race, who's definitely having a tough time with things. And someone else was off, I just saw. I didn't see. Was that Rodnick Bird in the background that was off the track? Yes, it is. A lot of people coming unstuck here on lap 23 of this 28-lap Grand Prix. Rodnick Bird currently sitting in last place. He's just lost the position to Fevolution. Is Rodnick Bird a debutant? I think he is as well. We have a few new drivers this weekend here in China that were unable to compete in the opening round in Australia.
But 2 drivers who were able to compete, Warden and Ryan. The gap is still around the second, so Warden's done a terrific job to peg Ryan behind them. Tima Marlak has fallen off the top 2 a little bit, so I would say he's out of contention for the victory. But HO behind him, it could be a good battle for 3rd maybe if HO can close the gap a little bit more. What do you think? Do you think HO has a shot at catching Ben, or has the gap just remained stable?
At this rate, I'm not sure he does. He's pulled in a handful of tenths over the last few laps. It's gone from about 2.1 or something down to 1.6. But I'm not too sure he's going to be able to do it. We've got Sado off the track there, coming unstuck and just keeping out of the way of the leaders. He goes a lap down. Good driving there from Sado. Not to ruin anyone else's race as well. He is making a little bit of a mistake as we have another yellow flag. As Warden has... Wait, no. My game's glitching out and it said there was a position change, but Warden was still in the lead. Okay, cool. Apologies for getting all excited about nothing there.
Yeah, lag does that a bit. That happens, and you know, it happened to me a few times in the race.
Sorry to cut you off, but we have a Renault battle going on down the back straight as Brock does stuff, goes side by side with his new teammate, I should say, Formula Fish, and it looks like he's going to get that move done quite easily with a little bit of slipstream down the back straight, but he's run it deep. Formula Fish back up his inside, a little bit of contact between the Renaults there, between the teammates, but Brock does stuff, does make that move stick now into 13th place.
Yep, so a bit of pride there for the two teammates. Brock, he's been slidey all race, but he's been able to make his moves stick. But up out front, Ryan's got the gap to under a second now.
This is going to be interesting how this plays out. I was getting excited a few laps ago about how it was closing up a bit, but then it stabilized a bit. But now Ryan's just creeping a little bit closer again. It's just, they're going head-to-head with these lap times, constantly setting very, very similar times. He's not quite gaining enough to attack just yet, as we have about 4 laps left of this Grand Prix. It's sitting at just 1 second, actually 6/10 now, which just jumped. But he's got that Ferrari in his sights. He is so close, it's like dangling a carrot in front of your nose. He can see it. He's trying everything he can do to catch that Ferrari, but he's just not quite close enough now. But he's actually gained a lot through this last sector. It's now down to half a second as we come onto the back straight. That Mercedes is definitely getting a tow from the Ferrari. Warden goes defensive as we come down this long back straight. It's still no DRS with the rain falling. Warden back to the racing line now. Can Ryan try an aggressive move? He decides not to, as Jetson F1 has actually retired from the Grand Prix. I think he did rejoin the session after leaving, but now he has called it quits for the day.
Yeah, in the pit lane, so obviously he must have some issues with the connection or something. But Ryan now is starting to put pressure on Warren. He does look faster of the two drivers now after a few laps where it was quite stable. But Ryan, if he can just keep close and look for an opportunity, he could get past Warden. But if you look at the fuel between the two of them, they're very even. So there's no fuel difference between the two, so it's not like Ryan can put more rich or Warren can put more rich. They both have identical fuel.
And another thing I just checked, neither of the drivers have penalties, so we won't be having a repeat of Australia where we have penalties deciding this race. This is an out-and-out race for the win between the two fastest drivers here in Oceania F1.
Yep, two fastest drivers. 1-2 last week. They should have been 1-2 in the championship last season had Ward not disconnected from the grid in Abu Dhabi. But obviously that was a bit unfortunate for him. But he's got 4 laps to hold Ryan off here. He's done it before. They've had titanic battles in most league races they've done together, and they've had finishes like this many times before. So Warden won't be feeling any pressure from Ryan. Ryan will understand the situation. Obviously, he knows what Warden's like under this sort of pressure, but he's got a bit of a toe now. He's actually gaining quite a lot on him now. Will he have a crack into the hairpin? I don't think so. He's too far away. In fact, Ryan's actually lifting off before he gets onto the brakes, so maybe he's just trying to set himself up for a last lap attack or something, as Ruthing Bird has retired from the race and he's been there.
I was just watching him a second ago. He was having a bit of a moment through the first couple of corners, as now we start the third last lap here in China. And there's only 3/10 separating the front two, the championship rivals, as Ryan is looking up the inside through this very long and what seems like a never-ending turn 1, but he's not quite close enough to stick the nose up the inside. He's just got to be patient as we head through turns 3 and 4, as now we head up towards the kink at 5, as we head down to 6. He's not going to be close enough to try a big lunge on the brakes. He's just going to be patient. There's still chances to go for the move. He doesn't want to try anything too stupid just yet. He wants to take his time and set himself up. He still has the time to do so.
Yep, so we got, like I said, 2.5 laps remaining, and obviously you don't want contact early on in the season. You don't want to be losing vital championship points to your rivals through no reason at all. like stuff like that. You just don't need to be getting involved in this early on. But we'll see what happens. Warren responding a little bit on this lap. He's pulled the margin back out to half a second. And Ryan's on the curb. He's actually...
Ooh, that's a costly mistake.
That could decide the race, that mistake.
Yeah, that could definitely be the race right there with the pace difference between these two and only 2 laps to go. A mistake like that costing you half a second. That could be curtains. But then again, you have a very powerful toe down this long back straight. I'm not counting Ryan out of this just yet. He's a very quick driver, and with a bit of a toe, he could still have a chance. So I'm just going to quickly cast my eyes further down the field. We still have an interesting battle between Drop Bear and Jared over 7th place. Only 0.2 of a second separating those two. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. And Chimchar, after, of course, he had a big mistake earlier when he was in this battle. He's fallen a little bit back, and he's sitting in 9th place. Of course, nursing that broken finger, doing a very, very good job there.
Yeah, another battle was Neon and Berserk.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Neon and Berserk for 5th place, and slipstream for Berserk. Neon defends, and around the outside Berserk goes. He actually outbrakes Neon. Did he get the move done? He does. So up in the 5th place for Berserk. So great comeback drive after having a pit on the first lap for a front wing change. And he's had tremendous pace all race long. So if he didn't have to change that front wing on the first lap, he would have been right up there, probably behind the top 2, finally out for the victory.
Yeah, definitely.
Great recovery from him up in 5th. But Ryan's closing the gap back down. It's back to 7/10 of a second. Warren's made a little bit of a mistake. And
here we go. We only have 1 lap and 1 sector to go in this Grand Prix, and we have a little bit of traffic up ahead as well. That looks like Force India. I'm not too sure who that is, but hopefully they see the leaders coming and get well out of the way down this back straight. We don't want anyone ruining this battle for the leaders. We come onto the back straight for the penultimate time in this Chinese Grand Prix. We've got NZL Ryan in the slipstream of Warden's Ferraris. We head down the back straight, trying to get that slipstream, getting in that hole that Ferrari is punching in the air, gaining, and gaining is not close enough on this lap. If Ryan's going to win this race, he has to make a move on the final lap of this Grand Prix. Do not turn away from this. This is going to be a fascinating last lap.
Yep, final lap of this race. Warden leads Ryan by half a second with just 1 lap remaining. Can Warden hang on? Can Ryan find a way past? It's been a great race. These two drivers, like Australia, barely a second apart the entire race. Warden, with the undercut in the pit stop, has been able to hold on ever since after Ryan started from pole position and led the early stages of this race. The lap traffic ahead of them hasn't affected them too much yet. It's a Force India, and it's of...
I'm assuming Poms to the win.
Poms. Yeah, it's Poms. So
who's currently sitting in the last points-paying position as well. So he's doing a solid job considering he's been nursing wing damage a lot of this Grand Prix. But this is getting very, very close as we head through turn number 8 for the last time in this Grand Prix. 2/10 separating these two. Hell, I don't even need to say the gap. You can see the gap. They are that close on track right now. We're coming up to the back straight. We've got 2 corners to navigate, then onto that long back straight, and there's 1 overtaking opportunity left for Ryan. Can he make this move stick? This is the crucial point. The traction zone through this long right-hander. He's feathering that throttle so much. He gets good drive. He gets very good drive off that corner into the slipstream of the Ferrari. He's almost pushing the Ferrari down the back straight. He's trying to pull alongside as they go side by side for the lead. 2 corners to go. And this Chinese Grand Prix, Ryan's got the inside line down into the hairpin. Warden locks up. A little bit of contact between the two. Warden goes wide. Ryan has a very tight line. He gets the power down, and Warden's off. Warden is off, and Ryan is going to come through and win the Chinese Grand Prix. What a battle to end this race.
What a race. What a race. Ryan wins. Warden, why didn't he cover? I don't understand why he didn't cover in the final corner. Acho snatched 3rd off Ben. Ben's got a puncture.
Oh, is he going to lose another place? Berserk 17 seconds behind him, so he's going to be safe. He'll cruise through. to 4th place, but disaster there for Tiamat Marduk. He had a podium almost in the bag. I had taken my eyes off that battle, but I'm fairly sure he was sitting in a position to get a podium. So unfortunate there for Tiamat Marduk, and that's 3 points just down the drain right there.
Maybe that's what happened to Water. Maybe Water got a puncture as he exited the hairpin. That's why he spun. Maybe, but
no, I don't think it was, because
so.
he was only 2 seconds back across the line to Ryan, and you saw how much slower Ben was there once he had that puncture. I just think he got a bit wide on the curbs, possibly the AstroTurf. You know, with that AstroTurf and the paint on the curbs, very, very slippery with the water on top of it. Easy to light those rears up a little bit, get a little bit sideways, as he was, of course, pushed out wide by Ryan, and he's just gone off a bit there. Very unfortunate, but what a battle for the end. It's not very often that you see the leaders going side by side, heading down the back straight with 2 corners to go in the final lap of a Grand Prix. That was a brilliant race.
That's probably the best race I've ever commentated on. I don't think I've ever had a race that exciting, especially on the last lap like that. That was
I'd say that was the best race I've commentated as well, especially considering it's the only race I've ever commentated.
Yeah, and what a race
fantastic.
to make your debut on as well.
That was fantastic. That I could not take my eyes off that. Battles all through the field, and especially where it counts for the lead of the race. That's what you want to see.
And Poms just crosses the line, so he never got lapped. So he stays in 10th place, but what a race. Incredible job. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, Ryan,
a brilliant display of driving between the top two there. Great car control, great racecraft, and incredible pace from the two of them in some very, very treacherous conditions. There was nothing separating them at the end, despite all the conditions, all the challenges in front of the drivers. These two, Warden and Ryan, could not be separated on track, and that's just set us up for what should be a fantastic season.
Yeah, fantastic season indeed it should be. These two drivers have shown in the first 2 races that they can fight tooth and nail all season long, and we hope you can join us for the remainder of the season and of course for tonight's races for the European division. So Ryan wins the race, Warden second, HO third. That's your podium. Ben, obviously, with that last lap puncture, loses that final podium spot. Berserk, great driver. I reckon he's my driver of the day, coming back to finish 5th. Neon, Drop Bear, Jared, Chimchar, Poms, round out your points. And then Luke, Brock, Shadow, all a lap down. And, of course, we had a few retirees in this race. But, Lachlan, thank you for joining me tonight.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure commentating with you. Harry, well done for doing the stream again tonight. You've done a great job again. Thank you to everyone for watching. Tune in tonight at 8 PM UK time, I think, for the European divisions. And we'll see you this time next week for round 3 of the Oceania division. Bye-bye.
See ya.
I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out. Please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. 'Cause I know how you felt. I know how you felt. I'm feeling so lost in my mind. Please just coming out. Please just coming out. Now that I am cursed, it's alright. 'Cause I know how you felt. 'Cause I know how you felt. Fall in love with you again. Wasn't right in the head back then. One more time before the end. I'll say goodbye to you even if I can. You wanna escape the feeling, even if you try. So listen and believe me, 'cause I have fucking tried. I'm feeling so lost in my mind.